having us.
Right. Now, let's just talk about today's conference. What are some of the issues that you brought about as NANSO?
Thank you for that question. I think I would like to start off really with our disappointment, first and foremost, with the news, the distorted and false reporting from New Era. After following our press conference today, where they basically reported false information regarding NANSO's finances. However, I want to make it very clear to the viewers and the audiences home, especially our constituents that entrust us really with the machinery that we have, that we always account for our finances. And there's nothing like we fail to account. We continue to account our finances to the ministry, and that accounting is also made available as well. But I don't want to dive too much into that because it will definitely dilute the conversation, which is the national crisis. But in terms of today's conference, it went pretty well. I was very happy. We were very happy as NANSO about the turnout as well, considering people are coming back from their holidays. So we had learners, we had teachers in training, parents as well. Majority of our constituents were there. And I think it went really well, and we had an opportunity. Our voice was heard. The statement is also out for the general public. And we are also always available and open for any questions or clarity as well. But once again, the advocacy work doesn't stop with the releasing of the press conference today, the statement today. It will continue.
All right. Now, ladies, what do you make of the results, the examination results?
I think we've expressed, even through our press statement, that we are highly disappointed with the results, given the fact that they don't just reflect the performance of the learners for 2022, but they reflect the state of education in the country, and by extension our contribution as stakeholders. So, however, we're looking at a situation where for the past few years, we've been having very poor and worrisome passing rates. And I think right now as a country, despite the fact that we must recognize the increase from 2021, where we had 18%, 2022 we had a 21% pass rate, it's still quite disappointing that as a country, we are sitting in a position where we are potentially embracing results that are less than 50% pass. So, but in a nutshell, we must express our dissatisfaction, our disappointment, but also these results as a key stakeholder being NANSO. We are encouraged to run even harder this year and to ensure that we don't find ourselves next year again sitting at the same table and discussing the same worrisome results.
All right. Now, what is it that you guys think contributed as a downfall for the grades to be this low?
I think, look, Dapewa, even today we said at the press conference that it's very important for us to move in the direction of not blaming and pointing fingers, because it requires a collective effort, and the results as well was a reflection of our collective efforts. There are various stakeholders that play a very significant role from their different levels with their different mandates in respect to the education system. But for us really as NANSO, we would like to say that with the primary stakeholder being now the leaders of the education system, being the ministry, there must be accountability first and foremost at all levels of the ministry, including the office of the minister. Hence why we also spoke about the performance agreement in today's press conference, in the statement as well. We are also looking, our biggest concern as well is the reduction in the quality of education that was given. There are many issues. I could go on and on and on. It's just because of time, such as the lack of training, for example. Not all of the teachers went through adequate training. The lack of monitoring as well. You find that there are learners that went to go and sit for exams without covering the full curriculum, the full syllabus. You find the mismanagement or the lack of proper resource management as well. Schools that don't even have AS level textbooks, if they have any. So there was there are different, many factors that contributed to the reduction in the quality of education that was given. So I think like I said, we need to rise above the issues and the pointing of fingers and look at each stakeholder. What did you do? How did you contribute? And how can we move forward?
All right. Now, Dorothea, Lucia spoke about the curriculum. Do you think teachers thoroughly understand the curriculum? And do you perhaps also, what do you make of this new curriculum that's brought about?
I think to answer the question, to be quite frank with you, no. They don't understand the curriculum. And it's so unfortunate that we have situations where teachers themselves are saying, I'm walking into a class and I don't understand. In terms of the new curriculum implementation, it's quite shocking that as a country, we implemented a curriculum where the educators don't understand it. You know, young people call it freestyling. How do you expect a teacher to go into class and go freestyle? Something they totally do not understand. So, of course, it contributes to these results. And I think even in our press statement, we mentioned of the fact that teachers are not well trained, and there must be mandatory training for teachers. And it boils down to even universities where you have student teachers being trained who are not being trained for the new curriculum. And if it's happening, it's not sufficient enough. Because even people who attended the press conference, we had student teachers there, and they are saying that we don't know this new curriculum. What we are learning does not align to what's expected of us to teach in classes. So I think really, as a country, we must address it, because you cannot expect a teacher to walk into a classroom to deliver something they don't understand.
Right. Now, apart from that, what can be done in order to obtain better exam results like this year? What can be done? What do you think can be done?
I think, firstly, the first step is looking at evaluating the factors that have caused these results. Like we mentioned, we don't have time for conferences and workshops anymore. We know the factors. We know that it's because teachers are not trained. It's because we don't have sufficient resources. It's because of the socio-economic factors. And therefore, we must start addressing these factors one by one. Starting with the teachers, like I've mentioned earlier, they must be trained. There must be mandatory training for them. And those that are in universities, their curriculum that they are learning in school must be aligned to the new curriculum. And it must be extensive. And also another thing is we must pool resources. Comrade President Lucian Dishishi has mentioned in the press conference that as a country, there is no more time to say that the government does not have resources. We must outsource. We must find ways to generate the funds to respond to the issues within the education system. Because if we are failing, we will continue to fail. Clearly, if there are no resources, the Namibian child is failing and we are increasing unemployment. So what benefit does it give us as a country? So I think addressing the issues one by one, starting with the biggest elephant in the room, which is the thousands of learners that are on the streets right now that cannot proceed to AS level and cannot proceed to institutions of higher learning. We must start by absorbing them, allowing them to repeat while we fix the issue of NAMCO.
All right. Now, ladies, just talk to us about some of the projects NANSO has installed for the students and the learners this year.
Okay, so basically we are moving now into reopening back to school. So NANSO will be launching again its flagship program, which is the Access to Education campaign. Together, even with what we are facing now with the results, one of the first things is implementation now. NANSO wants action right now. We don't want the ministry and the stakeholders to deliberate and then it's not taking effect now. So at basic education level, with the Access to Education campaign, for example, we are also really going to look at placements, particularly really from an early age. Grade 1, how are people being taken in? What is the content as well? Because you find learners that take up into going to grade 5 and they don't even know how to read. Going to grade 7, they don't even know how to read. For tertiary institutions and vocational, hours really, you are going to hear a lot from NANSO when it comes to financial assistance, to the funding as well as historic debt that continues to impede on a student's ability to access or to continue with their education. But you guys will definitely hear from us. There's a lot lined up for 2023. It's a year of revival, like the president has alluded to as well in his New Year's message. But it's also really a year for accountability, for action as well, implementation and results, most of all.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for joining me this evening, and we wish you all the best with the rest of the year.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Lucian Dishishi right there, who is the president of NANSO, as well as Dorothea Nangolo, who is the spokesperson, talking to us about the press conference they held today on the examination results. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more.